Not good news for Jalen Carter. The All-American, perhaps the best player in college football last year, missed some games, of course, with injuries. This came out this morning. He's at the Combine, the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, and he was supposed to meet and speak and answer questions with the media at about 10:30. And it took me a while to try to understand his connection to those who were killed in that car wreck, in what we were told was a one-vehicle car wreck. And it could have been, but Jalen Carter, who some might think is the best player coming out in college football, did not appear at the Combine media session. Reports of his alleged involvement in the fatal crash that killed two Georgia football program members. You remember one of them was a player, one was a part of the football staff. Road racing, weaving in and out. Some of the allegations, he was involved in that. I had not known that, never thought about that until this morning when his name was connected to it, because the investigation brought his name up, that there's a warrant for his arrest, and his I guess his spokesman said that they are working on that as far as what he'll do to probably turn himself in.
There are it's 2 misdemeanor charges against him. That's the facts of the case as far as what the charges have been, and so we'll see what his involvement was in that. But according to reports that the 2 cars were racing, and that's what caused or weaving in and out of traffic and going into oncoming traffic and doing all these things. Plus, the driver of the car that was in the accident had a pretty high blood alcohol content while that was going on. So we'll see what comes out. And what's very secondary in this is what happens to Jalen Carter in the draft. Somebody's going to pick him up. I mean, they're
in a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. I mean, he might drop a little bit, but his role in what happened to be a tragic accident needs to be investigated and see how, that went on.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to spin he overcame adversity to get here, when this, pops up, and it's not going to be one of what could have been a story of that is now going to be a much different story because of what's occurred most recently. And, he'll be lucky to get his name called, even though he'll undoubtedly get a call. But he'll be very lucky if he can just go on and play a career in the NFL unblemished without this affecting him. And it remains to be seen whether it will or not, obviously, because we're just learning about all this. But I don't know. I have noticed in the last year, maybe even longer than that. Road rage is always a thing, but it just seems like now. And this is not like get off my lawn type of thing, but I just feel like people are driving way faster all the time, more often than not. I was driving up to Dallas the other day, and it was insane. There was a car that came flying by me in the middle lane, had to be going 120 miles per hour, and I'm not embellishing. It's because I'm sitting there going 75. Everybody's going 75-ish, and this Charger zoomed by, was gone in the blink of an eye, and it was weaving in and out, and it was scary stuff, quite frankly. So this kind of been on my radar just in general. There's street racing that goes on by my place all the time now over the last year that I don't remember really happening before. I just feel like I see it on the road constantly these days. In a lot of the same vehicles and maybe the same age bracket. Maybe the 20-year-olds are just going crazy. I don't know, but it just feels like it is more of a common story these days. And so I'm not surprised to know that, some college kids are out there street racing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were probably in some pretty nice vehicles in this NIL age, especially if they were doing that. I don't know that to be sure. That part of the story is not surprising at all. But when you read some of the stuff that you mentioned, Paul, both vehicles switched between lanes, drove in the center turn lane, drove in opposite lanes of travel, overtook other motorists, drove at high rates of speed in an apparent attempt to outdistance each other, alcohol impaired, reckless driving, speed, significant contributing factors to the crash. Toxicology report indicated LaCroix, one of the 2 drivers, blood alcohol was 0.197. This is just stupidity. And bad decision making, and unfortunately, there was there was an outcome that was undesirable for everybody involved because of some of the decisions that were made as to how that occurred. That's what's being figured out right now, and whose role was what and all of that. It's just a sad story overall, and to think that it was already sad enough, but now here's a guy that. I don't know. Did he throw his dreams away? Probably not. I can't really tell based on this story, but it's shocking that this is coming out a few days after the fact, and that somebody so high profile is involved. So we'll see what happens. But obviously most thoughts and positive energy go to the families who were so deeply affected by this in the first place, lost their lives.
Yeah, and it took me a while to connect. Wait a minute, what does Jalen Carter have to do with? I thought it was a one-vehicle accident.
They were racing,
and then when you look at the details.
Fortunately for Jalen Carter, yes, it was. His vehicle was fine. Last night, guys, when I left, we had an interview which people will see on Sick'em 365 with Keytron Jackson here soon. We had the interview. I went home. I stopped to get some food, and I was on Valley Mills Drive. And for those of you who are from Waco, you know Valley Mills Drive. And there were 2 trucks that were work trucks, like guys with ladders and stuff in the back that were street racing behind me on a street that I will tell you, if you're not from here, is traffic light, traffic light, traffic light, traffic light, traffic light.
And
it's not great.
Yep.
And I immediately bailed off as soon as they were around me. I was like, nope, getting off. I'll take the longer way home. But I couldn't believe it. And then when you see it, like you said, you've seen it, it makes no sense to me why this has all of a sudden gotten popular. But,
I don't know. I just feel like I've noticed an uptick in it, and maybe it's just over by my place where it's happening on a more regular basis. But I'm not the only one that's sensed that, and I don't know if it's just, again, an age thing or if it's Vin Diesel's fault or what. But yeah, I mean that part of it's not surprising, but that development of Jalen Carter being involved to some extent is obviously some pretty shocking news to learn today. And the fact that there was a third vehicle in the vicinity that was also driven by another Georgia player.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of involvement overall. And 2 people died as a result. And it's just a very sad story to begin with. So let the legal system play out. But, yeah, that was shocking to learn and see his name pop up in that regard.
I live on the top of a hill where, Paul, you have to drive by. Craig's been there, of course, for a while, and now he's on the other side of town. But there's a huge hill. And every night, almost every night, you can hear them going up and down. And then one day, I'll never forget, and it was pretty much very surreal, coming out of my entrance or exit to get on the lakeshore to take a left down the hill, there were police officers, EMS, and ambulance, and somebody had tried to come out of the side road. A motorcycle was going too fast, slammed right into him, and died instantly. Just like, boom, gone. And so it's happening, but that was, you hear it all the time. So there's that story. And Jalen Carter, who could have been the number 1 overall pick, whether it's Chicago or whoever they traded to, if it's not one of the quarterbacks, whoever, is now, we'll see how that works out. And then I saw some of the responses. My God, Philadelphia is back there just like doing this. Let Jalen Carter, drop to us because of everyone looking at that rather than the story itself.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to play out. And, there's a bunch of people involved that you didn't know at first when this story first broke. You learned about the 2 people that were killed, and you learned maybe a name or 2 otherwise that was involved. But, I mean, there's like 3 other players that have been named in this thing since then, with him being the headliner. And so it continues to unwrap and unravel what actually happened on that night. But he did release a statement saying, we got the combine going on this week, so he's obviously, somebody that everybody's talking about, and let the world know through his statement that he's going to be returning to Athens to answer questions and to do what he needs to do as part of the investigation. But, a very interesting story that is not anywhere close to over, it appears. So, yeah, that's one that we'll keep track of.
Chris, we'll get to your super chat. Not right now, but we will. We'll have college basketball. Guys, what a $5 super chat. Thank you. Who would you top team from each of the major conferences to win the national championship? In basketball, there's the mid-majors, but again, Gonzaga in that conference might as well be a Power 5, even though the depth may not be there. Boise State last night with a great win against San Diego State that helps them probably get in the tournament. We will get into that and we'll say the 6, the 5 Power 5 conferences in football, and also the Big East when it comes to basketball, and perhaps a few others. Chris, thank you very much. Good question. We'll get to that in a little bit. Someone said, I thought it was just a 1-card deal. Was it this possibly Georgia trying to protect their players? I don't know the details. I don't think so, because Kirby Smart released a statement, and you could tell where he was with that statement.
I just think that the details are coming out now as they get into the investigation. I think Georgia was trying to protect anything. I mean, here's the thing. Jalen Carter's gone. I mean, like, what good would it do them now to protect him if he was directly involved and responsible for it? So, no, I don't I don't think that that has anything to do with it. I think just the details are coming out. Georgia, and you know, if they were covering anything up or protecting something, I'll eat my words on this, but from pretty much the minute this happened, they've been pretty forthright about it was a university car, it was university this, and they like, you know, there's nothing to really hide here other than you had some kids behaving responsibly and ended in tragedy. So covering anything up here is not to their benefit because, again, the super stud player that they're protecting isn't coming back next year. He's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never going to put anything past any college at this point as far as their image and protecting, you know, the shield, so to speak. But I don't have enough to think that Georgia's being nefarious about this. Like, I haven't gotten that impression outside of just, you know, saying what they should say but not saying more than they should say. You know, like, they didn't need to be the ones that came out and were like, and Jalen Carter was driving this, and, you know, this third vehicle was in the vicinity with, another player, one of our linebackers, and he was around. And, you know, I don't think that was their job to release all of that information. So they're they're certainly getting the proper advice they feel from their lawyers and reacting accordingly. But, yeah, I don't know really what the benefit would be. I guess, you know, if you want my mind to go to a dark place on, like I said, if it was covering up something else, but like that just becomes so speculative and not at all within what we do know about this story. So that's not healthy to start to try to get into that area of things without more information that would lead you to believe that could be the case.
Why today? Why is it just the timing of the case?
Well,
because
yeah.
And also the investigators might have also told the NFL, hey, you may want to watch here. They know what's going on.
Well, I mean, there's probably, I'm assuming, and this is straight assuming there's traffic cam footage of this and then witnesses. And then when you get all down to it, they look at the traffic cam footage. And remember, we found out last week that Jalen Carter was not going to work out at the combine. That could have been one of those, instead of, I'm not going to work out, I'm going to save it for pro day, just laying the groundwork of, he'll be up there for a day, and then he's got to go back and deal with this because this was coming down the line because they discovered what the overall cause was, because there is a shot here that after this happened, Jalen Carter just kept driving.
All right, schedules have been